Tonight on Best Bits, Alberto Montez asphyxiates Ricky Tercius. Gregory Rodriguez obliterated Bruno Ferrier. Drew Dober gets racially motivated. And Cody Garbrandt spewed in a bucket. Welcome back to Best Bits. UFC 326 just wrapped up, and here I am to give you a recap pretty much of the entire card. We're going to go through every single fight, give you my thoughts on each of them. We'll get into it. I hope you enjoyed the montage at the start. Not a lot of really amazing moments in the card, I'll be honest with you, but they weren't terrible fights. It was just a bit of a slow burner, I think, throughout. First fight of the night, Rodolfo Bellato versus Luke Fernandez. I don't rate Rodolfo Bellato, and you know what? I was very vocal about it in the predictions, and yet he goes out there and he chins Luke Fernandez. Luke Fernandez making his debut. I suppose there's a reason Rodolfo Bellato's in the top 30, I guess. Not really much more to say about it, to be honest with you. Halfway through the first round, I mean, yeah. Sometimes you just don't know until they get here, man. Sometimes you just don't get here, sometimes you just don't know until they get here. And it's like, Rodolfo Bellato is terrible, but he's in the UFC. So, like, his level of terrible is still probably better than Luke Fernandez, who is coming from a smaller promotion where, Rodolfo Bellato will probably be a champion forever, right? Yeah, MMA math doesn't add up, It just doesn't add up. Next fight on the card was Dair Nergazohe versus Rafael Tobias. Yeah. Unanimous decision. Pretty boring, I'll be honest with you. It was a bit slow. I wasn't entertained. Very slow burn of a fight. Goes to a decision. Yeah. Nergazohe. However you pronounce his name. Yeah, he probably won it. To be fair, I do not object. I have no contest to this claim. But yeah, he gets it done. Unanimous decision. Again, a slow burner. Started off pretty slow. Pretty slow burn to the card. Again, same with the next one. Sumadeji versus Jesus Aguilera. Sumadeji is still fairly entertaining. There was a few good moments. Sumadeji just being dominant and just imposing his will on Jesus Aguilar, on my man Jesus. And Jesus just couldn't get it done. But you know what? He will rise again. We picked Jesus for this one as an underdog. But you know what? He will rise again. How long is he going to be in that cave? Like 3 days or something? And the stone's going to move, and he's going to come back, and he's going to win by knockout as an underdog, I'm sure. But Sumadeji gets it done. Honestly, very good win for Sumadeji. Just imposed his will from start to finish. Again, a slow burn of a fight, but I think it was arguably more entertaining than the Dair Nergazohe fight. I think Sumadeji made it a little bit more entertaining, but Jesus Aguilar looked way out of his depth, man. Way out of his depth. In a lot of positions in that fight as well. Just didn't look good. So, yeah, Sumadeji gets a win over Jesus of Nazareth. On to the next fight. Tuman Dembarel versus Cody Durden. We picked Tuman Dembarel. We thought we'd actually get a finish, but no, Cody Durden still proves to be hard to finish. I did say in the prediction video that Cody Durden would be hard to actually put away. Because he's hard to put away, but he's not like I say, he's not a world beater. He's not incredible. He's a guy that just kind of floats around in the middle of the division, and they kind of just use him to build names. Now, Tuman Dembarel probably should have finished, and there was a few times where I think Tuman Dembarel was on the back of Cody Durden, and he was landing a couple of shots to the ground and pound, and then Cody Durden would try and move and get back up, given that little moment of obviously you've got to let go of someone to hit them. So given that moment of breathing room, Durden would try and get up. And Tuman Dembarel would re-maintain position. So he didn't really get a lot of ground and pound off, but I feel like if we'd have committed to it a little bit more, I feel like we could have put Cody Durden away in a couple of moments in that fight. Just based on his posture, his body language, even though he was surviving, I feel like if we'd have just committed to trying to put him away, with some TKO, some ground and pound, we might have been able to, to get it done there. But no, Tumen Dembrell played it safe, manages to go to a decision, gets the win over Cody Durden. I do feel like you should be finishing if you're looking to make a statement, you've kind of got to finish Cody Durden. You do have to finish him to make a big statement. But yeah, he is tough nonetheless, and it was a good show. And it was a good show for Tumen Dembrell. Cody Durden still being used to build names. I think, I don't even think we cut him from the sport, to be honest with you. I think he provides great value. I don't think, he's a good punching bag. I feel like that's a terrible thing to say about a professional fighter. He is a good punching bag, though. I'm sure if he wasn't in the UFC, he'd be amazing. But in the UFC, he's a really good punching bag. He makes guys look good. It's like his job in the UFC is to just make other fighters look good. Yeah, he doesn't get finished easy, so you can try some stuff out against them. He's good. I would keep him around. I know I'm always talking about cutting people for being terrible, but some people do have a purpose in not winning fights. Some people are here because they are tough, and they're just not going to be champions. But they're a good baseline. They're a good test, So yeah, Cody Durden, decent show, and he hung in there, managed to go to the decision. And that's not shocking from Cody Durden. He's known to do that. So yeah, Tumen Dembrell gets it done by unanimous decision. No surprise there. Next up, another not very surprising outcome. Alberto Montez gets the submission over Ricky Tercius. Alberto Montez is known for his own anaconda choke, his own special anaconda choke. Yeah, I mean, what else can be said about it? We said this going in. It was probably the lock of the card. I think we said in my prediction video, Alberto Montez likely submits Ricky Tercius. I thought it would happen in the first round. I think I said that in the prediction video as well, that very quickly, very early in the first round, Alberto Montez is going to just jump on the neck of Ricky Tercius and just kind of snatch him up and go for that anaconda, drag him to the ground by his neck. But that didn't really play out that way. Tercius managed to kind of hang in there pretty well, and it was more evenly matched on the feet than you would first expect. But Alberto Montez just leagues ahead in the grappling. Tercius just looked like a fish out of water, man. And Tercius can grapple too. It's not like he can't grapple, and he fish out of water, man. He got that snatched up, got his neck snatched. It got lashed up nice and tight, and there was no escaping. He went unconscious, didn't even tap. He went unconscious. Not like he had the time to tap. It's just when you're dealing with someone who actually knows how to. A lot of guys don't know how to perform a submission, is what you realise. Is that even though we're in the UFC and we're at the highest level of the sport, a lot of people don't know how to technically execute a submission, because it's not about how hard you can squeeze and shit. It's all about little techniques making the gap smaller by inhaling. You don't have to do a lot of work to just breathe in and make that gap smaller for a rear naked choke. You don't have to you don't have to squeeze super hard if you just breathe in and extend your diaphragm so that you make the space smaller. But yeah, Alberto Montez with his modified anaconda choke manages to get Ricky Tercius snatched up pretty tight, and before Tercius can even think about tapping, he is unconscious, completely unconscious. There was a brief moment, I think he had a little window, maybe 2-second window to tap when it was fully in, and then he started wrenching it in tight. Maybe that's when he should have tapped, but to be honest with you, I don't hate it. He didn't have a lot of time to react, and he did get choked unconscious, if only briefly. On to the next one. Dante Johnson versus Cody Brundage, split decision. Now listen, I thought Dante Johnson would do better in this fight. Again, Cody Brundage, like I said in the prediction video, is a lot like a Cody Durden. The Codys, they're just guys that hang around the middle of the division, the lower end of the division, and they're a good baseline. They do really well outside of the UFC performance-wise and win streak-wise. But I think inside of the UFC, they're just not quite there. Or not quite the best, if you will, but they're a decent baseline. And I think Dante Johnson kind of fumbled it. Tumen Dembrell probably should have finished Cody Durden. There's a couple of those moments he could have taken advantage of, right? But Dante Johnson just looked weird, and uncomfortable the entire time from start to finish. And he was beating up Cody Durden. He was beating up Cody Brundage, Cody Durden. What? He was beating up Cody Brundage, whooping him bad. It's just, he was doing this weird twitchy things. His legs were super stiff. He was kind of plodding forward very weirdly. I don't know. It's like watching that one guy. I Can't remember where he's from. He's from like the UAE or something. Maybe he's like a Dagestani or something, or a Russian, maybe a Chechenian or something. And he's got that tick where he's like wiping his face the whole time, and he wipes his eyes the whole time. So I think he wipes his eyes. He wipes his eyes every couple of seconds. It's just a tick that he's got. It was like Dante Johnson had a tick because he every couple of seconds he was. It was so weird. It was so bizarre, and it wasn't like they weren't even in range of each other. And he was walking Cody Brundage down. He was walking Brundage down, and just twitching. It was so bizarre, so bizarre. Like I thought they were faint at first, but I think that's just how he moves. I think he's just super twitchy, and I wouldn't like to fight it. It's very weird. It's very awkward. I think it actually gave Brundage some problems because he was like, when's he gonna move? So maybe that's part of the strategy. But yeah, the footwork and the leg positioning of Dante Johnson is something that's going to be exploited later on in his career. So I keep an eye open for that. I think this wasn't a good performance. He's due a full exposing. Like he's due a full exposing with walking around like that. I'm surprised Brundage didn't really capitalise on it, but it's undeniable. Johnson does have power. Like he had Brundage wobbly and skating around and slipping and sliding everywhere repeatedly throughout the fight. And like I say, he's throwing off a terrible base. So he's definitely got power. Imagine if he learns how to stand. Imagine if he learns how to put his feet down properly when he throws. You know, properly plant his feet and turn his hips into it. He'll be an annihilator. Because right now he's just doing arm punches and still doing a lot of damage. So, yeah. On to the next one. Cody Garbrandt versus Xiaolong, man. What a fight. I don't even remember I picked Cody. Cody Garbrandt gets it done by unanimous decision, but he lost the fight. He got beaten up from the first minute to the last minute. It was just an unfortunate series of events for Xiaolong. Honestly, don't be kicking the guy in the balls then. So Cody Garbrandt was losing the fight. Maybe a closer round two, if I'm remembering correctly, but he was losing the fight. He was losing the fight. If anything, this should have been a draw, but whatever. I guess the judges just see a different fight to me. But it probably should have been a draw. It still should have been a Xiaolong win or a draw. But yeah, Cody Garbrandt goes in there, kind of gets made to look like an amateur. He was getting the leg kicked out from under him. He was getting beat to every punch. He was having little moments of success, but he just wasn't hitting hard enough, I don't think, to like really gain any respect from Xiaolong. Then in the third round, so just, pardon me, there's a head clash in round two. It's a bit like, oh, Xiaolong's a bit like, come on, ref, that was blatant. And the ref was like, no, that was an accident. Then we go into the third round, and there's like a cheeky little groin kick from Xiaolong. And I thought, you know what? We're going into the third round. That fight ended. That previous round ended with like a shady little headbutt. I think it was accidental from Cody. I think it was just a head clash. But I think Xiaolong kind of was like, oh, well, I'll get one back and then we'll carry on, which is reasonable. I'm a firm supporter that if you get fouled in a fight and the ref doesn't really do what you want him to do about it, foul the guy back, because then what's he going to do? He can't really punish you if he didn't punish the other guy. And so Xiaolong really took that to heart, and he bonked Cody. Bonked Cody in the plums. Fight gets stopped for a few seconds, gets restarted, and then maybe the second exchange, once the fight's restarted, Xiaolong just punts Cody right in the plums, right in the cup, and immediately the fight gets paused again, and Cody ends up on his hands and knees just dry heaving until someone brings him a bucket, and apparently he threw up in the bucket. Obviously you can't see inside the bucket, but judging by the body language, I'm no body language expert, but judging by the way he had his face in that bucket, I assume he was spewing in it. I think the fight should have been stopped there, probably been made a no contest if you weren't going to disqualify Xiaolong. But no, they took points. They took points from Xiaolong. There must have been another moment of, I can't remember it exactly. I feel like they didn't take points right until the end. I don't know. Strange one. But yeah, so Xiaolong loses points and then loses the unanimous decision based on the fact that he lost all them points. I think he had 2 points deducted, right? Can I check on Tapology? Will Tapology tell me that he had 2 points deducted? I wouldn't even know where to look. I don't really care that much. But yeah, so Zhao Long gets 2 points deducted. Cody Garbrandt wins a unanimous decision off of the back of that. I mean, we've seen crazier things happen. Good for Cody Garbrandt, I guess. Unlucky Zhao Long. Bizarre, a weird event, a weird moment on the card. If you ask me, a very strange moment on the card. Now we're getting into some best bits. Obviously, we had the best bits with Alberto Montez and obviously Cody Garbrandt thrown up in a bucket. But here's the real best bits of the night. So Gregory Rodriguez, RoboCop, manages to avenge his loss to Bruno Ferrier. Goes out there, round one, like a minute 30 seconds in there, bonks him hard, man. Just drops him hard, super fast. So I was in the right hands, super quick, yeah, right straight, super quick, right straight, on the inside, like just bump. You didn't even see it. It was so fast, so powerful. And then Ferrier just dropped, man. And he was even once the fight was over, and it had been called off, he was kind of just on his hands and knees in a daze. It was good to see. It was good to see. So Gregory Rodriguez, whose name I can't say today, gets it back, gets the W, avenges a loss on his record as well. And man, I just want to see him keep going. Honestly, has been one of my favourite fighters for a little while now, especially in his division. Has been one of my favourite fighters for a little while now. I want to see him get to a title. I really do. I don't know if he'd win a title, but I want to see him get there. I think it'd be very entertaining. I think it'd be very, very entertaining. I mean, I don't think he beats he's not gonna be a champion. You know, he's not gonna beat like Khamzat, is he? He's just not gonna beat Khamzat. It wouldn't happen in a million years. It wouldn't happen. I think he would just get dominated. He'd just get made love to all night long by Khamzat. Full 30 minutes. You know. But yeah, Gregory Rodriguez gets it done. Emphatic victory. Avenges a loss on his record. I want to see him go all the way to the top. I think it'd be entertaining. Put him in some big ass fights, man. Put him in some big fights. Put him against a good name, a big name. Maybe we do put him forward for the title. I don't think he'll win it, but I think he deserves it. He's entertaining. And he gets the job done. It's never really super boring. I think he's had like one boring fight inside of the UFC. On to the next one. Drew Dober beats Michael Johnson. I'm going to be careful what I say about this one. Drew Dober got it done, man. There was talk of Drew Dober unlocking his ultimate form once more. You know, Michael Johnson activated his trap card. I don't know. I thought Drew Dober was going to lose. I had made my predictions and I picked Drew Dober for obvious reasons. You know, his track record speaks for itself. But yeah, I had picked Drew Dober based on the track record, and then I think a couple of hours after I posted my prediction video, there was a video of Drew Dober like checking that Michael Johnson was okay with the meme. You know, Michael Johnson didn't really seem to care and was kind of a bit like, yeah, why are you making this a thing? And you know, conveniently there was a camera there to record Drew Dober being like, you know, it's not me, it's just like a meme. But yeah. So I thought from that moment, no, Drew Dober's probably going to lose. He's probably letting this meme get to him. You know, Drew Dober's like one of the nicest dudes in the UFC as well. I think Michael Johnson even said that when Drew Dober brought it up to him in the press conference backstage. Like Drew Dober's a super chill dude. Probably not a racist bone in his body. Let's be honest. But a super chill dude, and just coincidentally, he doesn't seem to lose against a certain type of fighter. I think it's a coincidence, but yeah, he gets it done. I thought he would lose. I think going and trying to like make peace in quotations. I just kind of checked to see if Michael Johnson was okay with the meme. Just kind of put like a bad taste in my mouth. I was kind of like, you can do that after the fight though. Win or lose, you can be like, yo, I don't condone the meme. You know, win or lose. Obviously, it bothers Drew Dober. He's saying that like his nieces and nephews or something are being like harassed about it in school. And I get that. That is unfortunate. I do get that. That is unfortunate. So maybe it was more for him than it was for Michael Johnson. And like I say, there was conveniently a camera recording that interaction. But yeah, Drew Dober gets it done. He was an underdog, right? He went into this fight as an underdog as well, didn't he? No, he went as a favourite, never mind. Never mind, he went in as a favourite. When I picked him, he was the underdog. But that flipped like an hour before the event started. It was very something's going on, man. Something's going on with all this betting. Something strange is going on. There's something allegedly. I'm not alleged it though. Something smells fishy. Next up, Raul Rosas Jr. versus Rob Font. I had Raul Rosas by submission or decision. That was my advice in the prediction video. I was like, listen, guys, he's capable of submitting people. I don't think he submits Rob Font. Rob Font's pretty tricky. He can survive. He didn't have an answer on the ground. Like, he was fish out of water, completely out of his depth. Didn't have an answer. Like, he was swimming, man. He was swimming. He was scrambling. He was rolling out. He was trying everything to get out of there. He was genuinely trying everything. He even went for a leg lock right at the very end of the last round. It just wasn't enough. Raul Rosas just a weird little creature, isn't he? Just a weird little creature. He was digging his chin into like the face and chest of Rob Font at one point. I was thinking, oh god, it's like a blade. That chin's like an ice pick. But yeah, enough about Raul Rosas' looks. He gets it done emphatically. He gets it done. Does a nice little post-fight speech. It was alright, yeah, it was decent. I mean, I thought he'd get the submission. I thought it was possible to get a submission over Rob Font if he just kept working on it. But Rob Font's submission defense held up. Shame is, his grappling just wasn't up to par, but his submission defense at least kept him safe throughout the fight. And it did go to a decision, but Raul Rosas Jr. just dominated the entire fight. It was a little bit boring, I'm not going to lie. There was moments where Raul Rosas was just kind of sitting there and just holding position while Rob Font just accepted being in that position. But maybe they were resting. Maybe that was a moment where they were both like, oh, we're catching our breath and then we're back on the scramble. They stalemated out. I don't know. It is what it is. Raul Rosas gets it done. I did say it may be a unanimous decision. So yeah, we did pick the submission decision option on the Albet 365. The double chance method of victory, double chance. On to the next one. Brief with Raul Rosas. It was just a domination with Raul Rosas. I feel like that was a bit too brief. It was just a domination from Raul Rosas. Like, from start to finish, he just made the fight a grappling match, and he just controlled the grappling match, and Rob Font really didn't have an answer for any of it, and that is all there is to say on the matter. On to the next one, the co-main event, almost up to the last fight. This is going to be a short best bits. There wasn't a lot. It was just kind of an It didn't feel like a UFC numbered event, but we'll get onto that at the end. I'll bitch about the events at the end. Co-main events. Caio Borralho versus Ryan the Ridder. We had Ryan the Ridder. I thought that Ryan the Ridder would be able to get inside a lot more efficiently with those knees, but it seemed like Caio Borralho had game planned for those knees perfectly, because every time Ryan would step in with a knee, and maybe he would land it to the body, but he would eat a big shot for it. And it just wasn't worth it, like, mathematically in the end. It just wasn't adding up correctly. And I think Ryan the Ridder kind of abandoned that awkward, like, step-in knee style. He was still using it. He was still showing Caio Borralho it, and he was still throwing the occasional knee up the middle, like, to enter. But he was very much discouraged after eating a few shots. And it was like, I feel like Ryan the Ridder did better than people were giving him credit for. I feel like he was always in the fight, and he was having moments where he was scoring points on the feet against Caio Borralho. And, like, he opened that scar on Borralho's cheek. I think he busted up his nose a little bit. So he was landing shots, and there was a moment, I think, in the first round where Caio Borralho was bloodied first. And it was like, oh, Ryan the Ridder doesn't look like he's hitting too hard, but it seems like he's doing damage. Like, he's landing damaging shots, but it doesn't seem to be really shaking Caio Borralho. It's all superficial. It's all blood, it's all skin tissue damage. It doesn't seem to be powerful enough to get anything internal, It doesn't seem to be hitting that switch on Caio Borralho. Whereas Caio Borralho wasn't really, by the end of it, but wasn't really doing too much superficial damage. Didn't really open up too many cuts or anything on Reiner until, like, the end of round 2 into round 3. And even into round 3, when Borralho finally did start, like, actually laying some damage on the face of Ryan the Ridder. Ryan the Ridder was jabbing Borralho repeatedly in the eye, and by round 3, Borralho's eye was swelling up bad. And if we were going off damage-based scoring, you would kind of have to give it to Ryan the Ridder. I don't think he won the fight, don't get me wrong. I think he couldn't execute his game plan whatsoever, and he was stuck on the feet with a guy who was better on the feet. But if we're talking damage-wise, superficially, just looking at them, by the end of the fight, Caio Borralho was looking worse off. which is strange to say for a guy that did outland. I think it was pretty close, but he was outlanding. He was outlanding by like at least 3 or 4 strikes, around, and they were hard strikes. He was hitting Ryan and Ridder, and even though he wasn't cutting them, he was like wobbling. And I think that was a bad look. I don't think they were hitting Ryan as bad as what it looked like, but I think in order to counter the power, he was trying to stay loose and roll with each shot, and it was making the shots look like they were hitting 10 times harder, and he's wobbled now. And there were moments where he was wobbled. There definitely were moments where he was wobbled. I think in round 2, there was a lovely right hand from Baralho, and Ryan Ridder was backing up for a solid minute after that, and that was a good shot. But it was like Baralho didn't realise, or he didn't want to overcommit. But yeah, last round for Ryan Ridder was actually a good round right until the last 10 seconds. I feel like Ryan was probably going to steal round 3, just because Baralho was getting tired, I think. But no, Baralho had a little bit more left in the tank, and he snatched that round. He did. He won that round right at the very, very end. Last 15 seconds, they were tied up on significant strikes or strikes landed, and Baralho just kind of pushed forward and landed a few more. Really did just push forward and landed just a few more strikes, and I think that really did. I think that was the difference. I think Baralho just kept pushing forward and landing a couple more strikes each round, each time, each exchange really, each exchange. But yeah, Caio Baralho gets it done by unanimous decision. Ryan Ridder, not really looking his best, man. Game plan did not work out. It was like he didn't have a game plan for Baralho. Maybe it was short notice. I don't even know. I didn't even check. I probably should have. But yeah, Ryan Ridder just didn't get it done. Just couldn't manage to get Baralho in any kind of position where he could dominate the fight. Didn't really have a table to turn, if you will. So yeah, Caio Baralho gets it done by unanimous decision. And we are on to the main event. The BMF title fight. Charles do Bronx Oliveira versus Max Holloway. We picked Max Holloway by a TKO. You've got to forgive me. You must forgive me, everybody. I thought this was a BMF fight. Now listen, I'm not knocking. One of my favourite fighters of all time, Charles do Bronx, a GOAT in the sport, okay? Can't take any of that away from him. It can't be done. An absolutely dominant performance, emphatic, dominant performance. Never a moment where Oliveira looked like, oh God, this could go sour. Like from start to finish, he was landing the better shots on the feet, and he took Holloway down, and he held him down from start to finish of every single round. Holloway did not know what to do on the ground. However, that is not how we do a BMF fight. The whole point of the BMF belt is that we stand and bang. The belt was founded for Nate Diaz. The belt was founded for Nate Diaz. He was never going to win a title, legit, like an actual title. Oops. He was never going to win an actual title, like legit. He was never going to do it, okay? It just wasn't going to happen, okay? It just wasn't going to happen. But he was so entertaining and so beloved and had such a unique style, both of the Diaz brothers did, that they made a belt to complement said style. They said, we'll make a belt for the guys that just want to scrap. Okay? The guys that are just going to go for a knockout, are just going to go and throw hands from start to finish. And the reason that exists is because Conor McGregor shot a takedown on Nate Diaz. I know that's removed from the BMF belt, and Nate didn't even win the BMF belt, okay? But the reason the BMF belt exists is because he went blow for blow with Conor McGregor, got beaten up, and then McGregor shot the takedown and got submitted. That's why the BMF exists. Everyone remembers that fight, man. That was like the upset of the century. I had picked Nate Diaz, by the way. I thought he was just too big for Conor. I thought in the second fight as well that it was a lot closer than people give Nate credit for. He was just so big. I don't think it was anything to do like he's more skilled than McGregor. I just think he was just so big and long that McGregor was having trouble doing what he wanted to do in both fights. But I do see the argument for McGregor winning in the second one. It is clear. It is clear. I can't cope on that. It's so far removed now. How can I cope on that? But yeah, was it a BMF fight? Was it really a BMF fight? Oliveira was winning in the stand-up. He was doing better than Max Holloway. He was landing good shots. He was eating one or two. But he was landing the better shots. He was landing more, and he was landing better. And then he would shoot a takedown, and he would just hold Max down. He was going for submissions. He was attacking the neck constantly, but he just wasn't getting it. And there was a few times where it looked like it might have been in, but it was on the chin, and Holloway just stayed calm and fought out of it. And I think by round 3, where this had happened, round 1 and 2, super tense, edge of your seat kind of stuff. This could go any way. And then as we're going into round 3, it's like, oh no, Charlie Olives is just going to keep doing this. And he did just keep doing it. And that was the game plan. If you've got some of the best grappling in the sport, why would you not use it? I understand that completely. But then, maybe you shouldn't be fighting for a BMF if that's how you're going to go about it. Like, we're supposed to scrap. And, like, at the end as well, Charles basically just let Max up as we're coming to the last 10 seconds, the last 15 seconds, where traditionally, thanks to Max Holloway, has made it a tradition. In the last 10 seconds, you stand in the centre, one of you or both of you point to the centre of the mat, and you make a gentleman's agreement to throw out the fence and embrace CTE for 10 seconds and go to war and try and knock each other out. Maybe you get knocked out, maybe there isn't a knockout, but you go to war for the last 10 seconds. Charles Oliveira let him up with 30 seconds on the clock and held him against the fence. We get to 15 seconds on the clock. Charles Oliveira checks the clock. Thinks, no, a little bit longer. We get to 10 seconds on the clock. 8 seconds on the clock. Then Oliveira decides, okay, let's do the BMF thing. The thing that everyone's been waiting for. Okay? An actual, like, fisticuffs moment. There's a pause. Holloway throws a nice shot. It lands. It wobbles Oliveira. Oliveira staggers backwards a little bit, gets his feet back under him, and then fires back as Holloway approaches to try and get this finish and save the fight. And it wobbles Holloway. And then the fight's over. It wasn't a BMF fight. If it was for an actual belt, incredible. It was incredible. It was a domination. It was a complete domination from start to finish. Even standing. Even on the feet. Oliveira was dominating from start to finish. But 30 seconds, 15 seconds on the feet every round is not how we do BMF. So yeah, great performance. You can't knock it. It was basically a perfect performance. Aside from that last 8 seconds, 5 seconds if anything. Aside from that, Oliveira was untouchable for the entire fight. It was dominant. He won the fight fair and square. You can't take that away from him. But if we're talking about for a BMF belt, that's not how you conduct a BMF fight. It's just not how you conduct a BMF fight. It's not. If I was in charge, I'd be like, listen, you won. Congratulations. Here's the money. But you're not getting the belt. You've got to stand and bang. It's a BMF belt. You got to stand and bang. If you're the guy shooting for the takedowns, then I don't know. It's got to be a war, and it wasn't really a war. It was just Oliveira just dominated them. To be fair, and you know what? Can it even be a war if one person's so dominant? I suppose you got to be like that as well. It's on Max Holloway too. Max Holloway couldn't get up. If Max Holloway could have got up and fought off the submissions, fought off the takedowns, maybe it'd go different. But yeah. I suppose that concludes it really, doesn't it? What else can I really say? It just didn't feel like a BMF fight. It left a terribly... I'm shattered. I'm exhausted, okay? I'm sure you can tell by my eyes. I'm very tired. I stay up every Saturday. I'm a UK fan. I stay up every Saturday to watch this shit. And I stayed up all night to watch a BMF fight. And instead, I watched the cuddle session. Okay? I watched 2 grown men lay on top of each other for 25 minutes. I didn't stay up all night for that. So it left a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth. And I went to bed and I was just like, you know what? That was awful. That was not what I wanted to see. But yeah, Charles Oliveira gets it done. You can't take that away from him. Brilliant victory. Emphatic victory. Dominant victory. Just dominant from start to finish. Not on Holloway could have done, but just wasn't as enjoyable as it could have been. It wasn't what we were sold. And then I suppose I'll end this video not by talking about the fight, but by complaining about the Paramount production. Buffering. Terrible sound quality. Okay? The picture went off. It went off. In the middle of Cody Garbrandt versus Zhao Long. Sorry, I forgot his name. In the middle of Cody Garbrandt versus Zhao Long, the feed went off. It just cut out. And no one could watch it. Paramount Plus to TNT Sport, the feed just went dead for a solid 30 seconds. And before that, it was freezing and we were getting all these graphical glitches on the screen and the quality went down to 280p. Well, what are we doing? How much money has Paramount paid? Billions. Paramount's paid like 7 billion. And they can't run a live stream. Are we joking? What are we doing here? At one point I can hear, I think it was Daniel Cormier. Was it? I don't even know who it was. Someone was eating. That's why I'm assuming it was Daniel Cormier. Of course it was Cormier. Daniel Cormier was eating into the microphone, just munching away. At one point I heard his lips smacking. There's a fight going on right now. There's a fight happening. And I can just hear... because Daniel Cormier's having his fucking third snack. Oh, and you know what? Joe Rogan and Daniel Cormier, absolutely terrible commentary. Absolutely terrible commentary. Cody Garbrandt got kicked in the testicles, spewed his lunch into a bucket, and then they were like, "Oh God, why isn't he getting a bit more stuck in? Why isn't he going forward? Why is he being so timid?" The dude's just vomited from having his testicles punted. Are we stupid? It's a miracle the man is even continuing. The fight should have been called off. I know he could continue, but I think if a man gets kicked in the balls so hard that he vomits into a bucket, you have to get him a bucket. I think the fight should just be called there. We'll run it back another time. Okay? I know he won the fight. I still think it should have been stopped and it still should have been ran back another time. It should have been a no contest. Maybe even a draw. I don't know. I don't know how you would call it. I just call it a no contest. As soon as he's thrown up in a bucket, I would be like, get him a towel to wipe his face. He's still in this. I'd be like, just call it off, man. We'll do it another time. We'll just reset. We'll do it in a few months. You know? Why don't we do that? And then I've got Joe Rogan and Daniel Cormier being like, Cody's just not in it, man. He's just not getting in it. He's just not getting in the fight. We're all aware he's not getting in the fight. He's probably still not feeling very well. He's just been punted in the testicles so hard he threw up. But yeah, just awful commentary. I feel like last week Michael Bisping was talking about what he was having for dinner or what he'd had for dinner during the co-main event. So you know what? As much as we joke about some of the gaffes that John Anik has, you know, some of the funny moments John Anik's had, he's the only guy who can do commentary. Like Joe Rogan, just saying the wrong things. Joe Rogan was a guy at the time, like back in the day, we didn't understand the grappling. No one really knew what jiu-jitsu was. It was very niche. No one really understood how wrestling worked. It was very niche. Especially the wider world. Like wrestling was more known in America, I suppose. But the wider world, it was a bit like, oh, what does it mean? How is he doing that? And Joe Rogan would break that down and explain to people. Now, Joe Rogan still tries to do that, but he's wrong. He's always wrong. He gets it wrong every time. Oh, he shouldn't be doing that. He shouldn't be doing it. Oh, he's up. He's up, Joe. Why shouldn't he be doing that? Why shouldn't he get his knees under him and then stand up? Why shouldn't he? He should be protecting that neck. He can do that better if he's standing, Joe. What are you talking about? But it's like when it starts grappling, Joe Rogan forgets it's an MMA fight. He's like, all right, well, now we're playing jiu-jitsu. You know? And then when we're watching Holloway get dominated by Oliveira, there's no insights on, what Holloway could do if he knew how to do it. Or, you know, why this is working so well for Oliveira. There's no oh yeah, and as you can see, he's controlling the wrist, or that body lock's in tight, and Max doesn't have an opportunity to fight the body lock because he's so preoccupied with the hands. There was none of that. It was just, wow, the jiu-jitsu from Charles is incredible. Wow. Do Bronx, ladies and gentlemen. What? Oh, it's in. Oh, no, it isn't. He doesn't even know what he's watching anymore, man. Doesn't even know what he's watching anymore. So we've got constant buffering. I tweeted about it, yeah? You've got Dana White and all the companies, don't do piracy. Remember, piracy's bad, and you know what? You don't even get a good quality anyway. You know, if you try and pirate a stream, a sports stream, it's going to be buffering. There's going to be predatory pop-up ads all over it. You know? It's just going to be a terrible experience. You watch a Paramount stream, it's constantly buffering. There are predatory ads popping up throughout it. The audio quality is often awful. I'm listening to DC chomping into a microphone. You know? That was it. Between fights, we're getting ready to hear like who's won a fight in a decision. And I just hear DC go, ha, and let out a big like sigh, like he was bored. Like, brother, you're getting to watch the fights for free. I'll take your job, I'll take your job, DC. If you're too fat and tired to sit sit in front of a screen and commentate a fight, I'll do it for you. I know a million people that'll do it for you. But yeah, I suppose that does wrap up this best bits. I've managed to stretch it to 40 minutes by complaining about the Paramount era. Ticket prices, man. Ticket prices. I should wrap it up. They're pricing people out. They're pricing the fans out. It used to be a time where Dana White was like, no, man, we don't want to do expensive tickets. We'll make the tickets as cheap as we can possibly make them because we want people to attend the fights. We want this to be accessible to the audience. And now it's just a rich boys club. You've got Mark Zuckerberg sat in the front looking like a fucking lizard. Like that. Looking like a fucking reptilian creature. Lurking in the background. And the rest of the place is empty because no one can afford a ticket. Just a rich boys club, man. Just a rich boys club. Every other ad is just gamble. Gamble. Put your house on the line. Gamble more. Gamble. They're killing the sport. Paramount has killed the BMF. And it's going to kill the UFC. It will kill the UFC. Something's got to be done about this. Someone needs to step up and be like, listen, sort this shit out, bro. Sort it out. Paramount is going to kill the UFC. They're going to kill us off. And kill the sport. But yeah, that concludes this episode of Best Bits. Thank you very much for watching all the way to the end. If you made it through that rant, thank you very much. I'm sure you agree. Let me know what you think down below. Until next time, keep your chin down and keep swinging. Peace and love. I'll see you around.